Hey guys, GeoScano here, bringing you a new video series called A Splash of Creativity. We're bringing a little bit of creativity to each of your D&D sessions. So, the first episode I was thinking of is make your character stand out, backstories and drawbacks. So let's go ahead and get started into the video. We all know that variant human character who, does everything great and really has no drawbacks. I mean, they're gorgeous. They just sit there, they do everything well, they talk well, they roll high, they have plus stats and everything. And, they're completely and utterly forgettable. Think about it. Except for the last time you played, do you remember any character that just did everything well? Well, today I want to talk about bringing a little bit of life and memorability to your character. So let's go ahead and start about talking. The most important thing here is drawbacks. We want to play the character that we all imagine in the fantasy world. We all want to play the character that has the best traits amplified of yourself. I know because I've done this before and I've seen many people do it. They all play the character that's them with their best traits amplified and their worst traits minimized. It's okay. We all do that. And if it's your first couple sessions, go ahead and make your character that way. Make it you, just in a more awesome you, and that's it. That's totally fine. But if we're talking about keeping your character memorable, we want to make sure to maximize the inefficiencies that your character has, or the fatal flaws that they have. That is what's going to make your character memorable. Alright, so why does having flaws make your character memorable? Well, let's go ahead and jump into this. And pretty much the easiest way to do this is to look at famous characters from movies, because they've done plenty of movies. The first movie we're going to jump into is Lord of the Rings. Aragorn, he answers off by being pretty awesome and pretty badass and knows a lot of stuff, but if you look at it, he swore off everything that made him great easily. So he was kind of the heir of Gondor and he had a whole ton of potential. And he was like, no, we're just going to be a ranger. We're going to be, learn all this stuff. The base level stuff. We're going to be just kind of another good grunt out in the battlefield and do our things right. But as the story goes on, he builds up. And you can see his leadership really evolving. His caring for other people. It all builds up throughout the whole show. And then at the end, he becomes the king. Spoiler alert. I mean, that's not really spoiler alert, but okay. So you can see, there's a whole lot of growth there. Let's go to another one. Matrix. Neo. He starts off basically as like his target audience. Like 9 to 5, very generic, basic people who can have a little bit of hacking, like that's really the target market. And by the end, he's basically nearly a god. So you can see really he just evolves and grows stronger and stronger and stronger. Frodo, very similar thing. He starts off as a farming hobbit that does nothing to really just saving the world and fighting all these things. We'll jump over to Sam on the other hand. Sam from The Lord of the Rings, he really stays the same. I mean, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but he really didn't change that much. He was a good guy who helped his friends and always did what he wanted. Now at the end, he was able to ask out the girl he liked and, he boosted his confidence hump, but he changed a bit. But really, on the scale of things, he didn't change dramatically. He jumped from like here to here. So it was like a very small, minor change. Overall, if you started the show or started the movie and then ended it, he didn't move that much. He was still pretty much the same character throughout. Now that is okay. But in our D&D campaigns, we don't want to be playing as Sam, where he goes from here to here. We want to be playing as Frodo, as he goes from off-screen all the way up here and learns all of this stuff. Because if you look at the character who he was and who he became, it was incredible, the amount of change. Like, nobody believed in him. Nobody thought a stupid little hobbit could do all of that, and he did. So what did we learn here? We learned that growth is very, very important in storytelling, especially in fantasy and sci-fi movies. Alright, so what does all this mean? Well, it means you're driving a character-driven story. Is where your character goes from some base level and moves up and really grows throughout the story and becomes stronger and better. and that's your main character. That's your Aragorn, that's your Frodo, and not so much your Sam. I mean, Sam moves up a little bit. He is not the main character of the Lord of the Rings. So, when you're playing D&D 5e, or whatever version you are playing, you want your character to grow. That is really what people remember. The growth, the maturing, the figuring out who they are. That is really where you want to be. And that is called a growth arc. And so I'm going to explain that simply. It's basically where somebody starts from a base level, and then they create through events, they grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and become something greater and something that they really want to see. Now this is really what creates, that growth is really what creates and separates their character from other characters. If you walk in day one, you're a character who does everything great and is awesome and is the son to a king and walks around being awesome all the time, you're already here. There's not much more. I mean, you could maybe go up a little bit, but there's not much room for growth there, okay? But if you come in as the son to a king who was slain and you were put into an orphanage and you're really down here, and you have to go ahead and build that up, build that up, build that up. Now this will take many sessions, but that's essentially what a growth arc is. It is creating and changing your character and acting differently. If you're down here, you're not running around being super confident. You're like kind of timid and not really sure what you want in life. And as you get closer and closer and closer and closer, it is really focusing in on who your character is and who they're going to become. And really that is the point that really pulls that emotional, just pulls the emotion into it and makes your character really rememberable. Now let's go ahead and talk about, this is where most of my references are going to come from, Critical Role. This is a great series for understanding how Dungeons and Dragons can work really well. So put Critical Role at nearly 100% for all of the players and the DM. These are near 100% for how, if you want to create a successful character, you're running through Critical Role. So first off, I'm going to take Percy from Season 1. Spoiler alerts, if you don't want to hear any of this stuff, go ahead and turn it off now. But Percy was basically, he was royalty. So that puts him right up here. He was royalty and everything was awesome. But basically, before the campaign started, his family was slaughtered and he was chased away and all these things. So it's basically like he had a great life. He was up here and he's already down here, and then he's starting the campaign. So there's all this room to grow. With you and the DM working together, you can branch this off in whatever way you want. It's actually incredible. It's nearly infinite, the amount of possibilities. But it really gave the DM room to work with to how can Percy navigate the world and get to this point again. And they do that really well in Critical Role. So again, sorry for my Critical Role references, but Marisha is another really good one. Her character, Keyleth. She starts off being super insecure, but needs to be leading her people. So there's this gap. And that's really important, is realizing this, how important this gap is. She needs to lead her people, which needs to be up here, but she's super, she has no confidence and really doesn't know what to do and just kind of is an awkward person. So she's down here. So she needs to figure out this gap. So over all of the episodes, she slowly gets here. Near the end, she's giving leadership speeches and knows who she is, and really, so she's bridging that gap, which is that growth that we all remember. You don't remember the cool time that she cast this one ability which did this thing, which, that's cool, but nobody's going to remember that in 20 days after hearing that. What they are going to remember is how she grew and became stronger and realized how being a druid can make her better, and the leadership roles that she was really pushed into. So you guys kind of see how that, it's just that growth that really makes you remember exactly who the character was, and really just makes you remember them. Alright, so let's go ahead and say that you want to play a character who's beautiful, gorgeous, and strong, and mentally smart, and really good at everything. Let's just say you want to play this character. Okay, sure. You know what? You can play that character. You know how you can do that? Well, one way would be to be a character that knows Disguise Self. and can disguise themselves as somebody who's really good looking, smart, and puts on this arrogance that other characters aren't able to pick up on unless they roll really well, which at one point will be revealed to the party. Maybe you're just you're just the complete opposite. Maybe you're really not good looking, you're average smart, and you just kind of pretend, you know. There are plenty of people who do that. So it's like you just cast this spell and all of a sudden you're this great looking, confident person. But underneath, you have all this room to grow. So you can be playing this character and be this character. And throughout the entirety of the film throughout the entirety of the campaign, you can go ahead and realize what your strengths are, how you are, and get better and better and better. And at some point, lose that image. And realize, my character's great, I'm great the way I am. And slowly build up that person and go even higher than your image. You know, that's a real easy way to just kind of really work that into your story, into your campaign. You can still play this awesome character who knows everything and does everything right and does everything well, but actually has this backstory that you slowly grow and achieve over. Now here's really where the creativity really hits the road. How are you going to make your character different? You know, are they going to have a bum leg and every time they're trying to run, they have to take a half movement speed because, you know, they have a bum leg? I mean, that's really cool. That's a great story element of something. Maybe they can figure out a spell that permanently changes how they're able to run, and it's just as good as normal, if not better. These are type of things you have to work with your DM ahead of time and say, hey, my character, you know, is gonna have a bum leg, and here's what I want at the beginning. You know, minus 10 movement speed or 50% movement speed isn't really going to affect combat that much, and that's really the only time it's going to come into effect. But the character growth there and figuring out, hey, maybe they meet an engineer who can create a nice little appendage that will attach to their leg that will make them even faster or up to normal. You know, these type of things are character growth moments that you want to look for, and you want to build the opportunity. Really, the key here is filling the opportunity. You want to start with a character that has room to grow and become bigger throughout the end campaign. Now, you can have an idea of where you want to go, but the events of the campaign could completely circumnavigate that and, you know, come at a completely different point. You want to leave the opportunity there, and if you feel like your course is way too far off and you're just off the map all the way over here, talk to your DM and see how can you bring it back and get into line with something that's close. You know, you don't need to be here, but you could be over here. Something that's lateral and kind of, you really want to grow your character, but you want to make sure that it's within the acceptable limits of what you and your DM have created. So that's really just the important part, is not having a specific endpoint. I don't want you to go to your DM and say, hey, I'm an orphan, my parents were kings and queens, I want to become the prince of this area. I mean, that's okay, but being open, ideally what you'd want to say is, hey DM, I am orphans of the king and queen who were killed and this person took over. I think it would be great for my character to realize his potential and then come back and fix everything that went wrong and become the prince or the king. But don't tell your DM, I have to become the king. You don't want this direct path. I mean, if it's in your mind, it's okay, but it's really better to figure it out as you go and really just kind of build one idea on the next and put all of those events together. And if you get 30, 40 sessions in and you feel like it's kind of building up to you avenging your past, and really focusing on becoming king, queen, great. But if it goes on building on, you know, hey, we're fighting the evil that's in this realm that's way bigger than becoming king and queen of this small little area, and it's better that I become a hero that rises up, gets rid of the past, and focuses on the betterment of the entire realm, you know, that's another option. So it's really just working with your DM and emphasizing where you'd like to go, and then adjusting that as you go. And keep these open conversations with your DM. If you're feeling like, hey, this is not really where I want my character to go, talk to them. They're usually pretty helpful and will help you identify, hey, I want to adjust it a little bit this way. We're going too far to the right. I want to bring it a little bit to the left. That's okay. Have those discussions. Be open-minded. And don't have a fixed endpoint, okay? Everything happens differently in a campaign. Things go sideways. Things go haywire. And you just got to roll with the punches and really just get into your character. Become your character. Fully put yourself in the character, the situations, the past, the present, and what that character would think of the future. And really bring those points into mind to see where you bring that character. And that's where the faults really, really take hold. You can see their insecurities. You can see the points where they're going to be unconfident. You can see the points where they need to improve on. And they're going to see that, and they're going to grow over time. And that's what creates a memorable character. And that's what you're going to think of this character. You may create the weakest character of all time. But what that just means is there's that much more room to grow for them to be great. And once they get great, from such a low spot to such a great high point, is going to be really memorable, really fun, and you're going to be able to remember that for the rest of your life, and anyone else in that game, whether it's on a stream or just the people involved, is going to remember that. If you start off great and go to greater, no one's going to remember that, which is fine. But that's not what storytelling is about. Storytelling is about the growth, the change, the maturing, the growing from younger to older. That is really where the storytelling takes place. And that's really what people are going to remember. And that's a story you want to tell. And that's a story you want to remember. You're going to remember that character. You're going to feel connected to that character. And that's what's important. And so that's it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And let me know, Geo from Role ConTROLL, what did you guys think? Was what I said a whole bunch of BS? Was what I think was a bunch of awesomeness? If you liked it, please share it. Please give it a like. Comment down below. What did you guys think? Seriously, I want to hear it. Is this all just like, who cares? That's okay. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.